Imagine, for a second, having absolutely infinite wealth, like controlling a massive empire, having mountains of gold and diamonds, and living in a palace so gigantic it literally takes your breath away. Now, imagine walking away from every single bit of it, just giving up the throne, the riches, the whole shebang, to wander the country and slowly starve. Sounds totally impossible, right? But over 2,000 years ago, one of the most powerful rulers in ancient history did exactly that. Welcome to the ultimate historical mystery of a mighty emperor who had everything but gave it all up. So that brings us to the big question. Why on earth would the richest king on the planet choose to starve? Seriously, what could possibly drive someone with total, absolute power to make such a shocking decision? Stick around, because by the end of this explainer, we're going to reveal the answer to this massive ancient mystery. This educational explainer is produced by Waqas Amish Shah, educator and AI agents and automation builder for educators, traders, and startups, based in Karachi, Pakistan. Get ready for a fascinating trip back in time. Are you ready to travel back over 2,000 years? Today's journey is packed with adventure. We're going to follow a brave Greek explorer, take a tour through an ancient megacity that was completely ahead of its time, and finally, uncover the unbelievable true story of the king who gave it all away. Buckle up, history explorers, because this is going to be a wild ride. Okay, let's dive into this. Our entire window into this ancient world comes from one very important eyewitness. His name, Megasthenes. Around 300 BC, a ruler named Seleucus I Nicator sent Megasthenes as an ambassador to India. He traveled across the ancient world on the famous Grand Road, passing through present-day Afghanistan. And get this, he was probably the very first European to ever lay eyes on the mighty Ganges River. He lived in the capital for years and wrote all his amazing discoveries in a famous book called Indica. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer mind-boggling size of the city Megasthenes discovered. The capital was called Pataliputra, and it was shaped like a giant parallelogram. We're talking 15 kilometers long and 3 kilometers wide. Because of its incredible size and brilliant city planning, historians actually believe Pataliputra might have been the largest city in the entire ancient world. And check out this number, 570. This wasn't just a big city, guys. It was an absolute fortress. Pataliputra was surrounded by massive, towering wooden walls. Built right into those walls were 570 guard towers. They were specially pierced with holes so the city's defenders could safely fire arrows out at any invading armies. Boom, 64. That is the number of grand gates leading into this magnificent ancient megacity. Just imagine the daily hustle and bustle. Merchants, soldiers, and everyday citizens flowing in and out of 64 separate, massive wooden gates. The scale of this place was just completely out of this world for the year 300 BC. And the defenses get even wilder, 30. That is the depth, in meters, of the giant defensive moat that surrounded the entire city wall. 30 meters deep. And here is a pretty gross but kind of brilliant fun fact. This massive ditch wasn't just to stop enemy soldiers. It actually functioned as the city's sewage system too. So it was an early drainage system and a heavy-duty defense system all rolled into one. To put those mind-blowing ancient stats into perspective, a 30-meter deep moat, that's like digging a trench as deep as a 10-story building is tall. And it was 300 meters wide, which is literally the length of 3 entire football fields placed end to end. Imagine trying to attack a city where you first have to cross 3 whole football fields of deep, dirty sewage water, all while archers are firing at you from 570 towers. Yeah, no thank you. So the crucial point is, despite this massive, intimidating fortress, life inside the city was actually incredibly peaceful. Megasthenes wrote in his book that theft was super rare. The citizens really valued truth, honesty, and good behavior above all else. And, very surprisingly for the ancient world, he noted there was absolutely zero slavery in Pataliputra. Daily life back then was this cool mix of simple habits and vibrant customs. For dinner, they usually ate a simple, tasty rice stew. People loved bright colors and wore fine muslin cotton clothes decorated with actual gold thread. Over 2,000 years ago, they were even using umbrellas to shade themselves from the hot sun. When they wanted to exercise, they'd rub their bodies with smooth ebony wood rollers. Oh, and here's a wild custom. Sometimes they actually paid for their wives using cows. It was a completely unique way of life. But while regular folks lived simply, the royal family did the exact opposite. The Mauryan court was famous for its unimaginable luxury. The royal palace was made of wood, featuring hundreds of rooms decorated with super expensive teak and ebony. One massive hall had 80 highly polished sandstone pillars. And here's a cool mystery. Modern archaeologists have actually uncovered parts of this palace, and they still have no idea how ancient stoneworkers managed to make those 80 sandstone pillars so incredibly shiny. The wealth was just extreme. The royals ate from solid gold vessels that were nearly 2 meters across. They had literal tons of diamonds and rubies. The palace gardens were filled with fish ponds, peacocks, snake charmers, and sword swallowers. When Emperor Chandragupta went out, he rode an elephant decked out in gold. His guards carried actual trees with live birds perching on them, and specially trained, brightly colored parrots would fly right around the emperor's head. Plus, they enjoyed crazy sports like gladiator fights and chariot races. And this brilliantly illustrates how he maintained that luxurious lifestyle, ultimate military power. Chandragupta kept his massive empire under strict control. He built an enormous army consisting of 600,000 foot soldiers, 30,000 cavalry on horseback, thousands of chariots, and 9,000 terrifying war elephants. It takes a lot of money to pay for all that, so regular farmers across the provinces were hit with really heavy taxes. Now, here is where the story takes a really dark twist. With 600,000 soldiers, infinite gold, and absolute control over the largest city on Earth, you'd think Chandragupta would sleep like a baby every single night. But the truth? He was absolutely terrified. He lived in a state of constant, intense paranoia and fear. But why? Well, Chandragupta knew that being a strict ruler meant his own people might rise up against him. He was completely terrified of being assassinated, so he put together this intense survival guide. First, spies everywhere, acting as his secret eyes and ears. Second, he forced food tasters to eat his meals first, just in case they were poisoned. Third, he constantly slept in different beds, so assassins couldn't find him in the dark. And fourth, he was always surrounded by fierce, highly trained archer bodyguards who never left his side. Living with that kind of heavy burden and daily terror really changes a person. And this brings us right back to our big opening mystery. After years of extreme power, wealth, and paralyzing fear, Chandragupta made a stunning choice. He decided to become an ascetic. An ascetic is someone who completely gives up all comforts, nice food, wealth, and power, to live a very simple, strict religious life. He realized that ultimate power simply did not bring him ultimate peace. Let's move to and see how this builds in to his final days. In 301 BC, Chandragupta officially gave up his mighty throne, handing the empire over to his son Bindusara. He left his golden palace, joined a monastery, and became an ascetic Jain monk. He traveled far to the south of India, and, following a traditional custom to achieve spiritual peace, he chose to slowly starve himself to death. The man who once ate from giant gold bowls passed away in 298 BC with absolutely nothing. Wow, what an unbelievable journey. Let's do a high-energy, rapid-fire recap of our big takeaways today. 1. Through the eyes of Megasthenes, we learned Pataliputra was a highly advanced ancient megacity. 2. Mauryan court life was filled with extreme, almost unimaginable luxury. 3. Chandragupta kept strict control using massive armies and a secret spy network. And 4. In the end, the heavy burden of power led a mighty emperor to choose complete simplicity over his entire empire. So here's a question to leave you thinking. If you had infinite wealth and power, but had to live in constant fear, would you give it all up for peace of mind? History is just full of these amazing surprises. If you loved unraveling this ancient mystery today and want to discover what happens next in the incredible story of history, make sure to like this explainer, hit that subscribe button, and follow along for more awesome educational history. Keep that curiosity alive, and we'll see you in the next one.